Welcome to the Envi Photo Studio Video Tutorial by Image Photography. A quick look around to view the studio and what it looks like. Here we have a button that opens and closes the control panel for the studio. Here we have a movement control buttons to move the avatar around the studio. The pose scroll buttons here changes the posing avatar through the animations inside the studio's content box. The option button, when clicked, can toggle between chatty mode or silence mode. This is for those who like to know what pose is being used and for those who don't like the chat spam. Here we have the texture view windows to select the textures for the studio. The buttons to select the backdrop, floor, or both. Select the area you want to texture, then click on one of the textures in the view windows. A bright button to turn on or off the brightness on the studio for a photo effect. A resize button, which is a unique design we made to shrink or expand the studio. No other studio outside or image photography's products do this. A prop button, when clicked, drops a menu for you to select a prop to res for a photo and unres. You can add your own props also by resing a new prop prim and linking your prop to this. Rename it and take it to your inventory, then drag it back into the studio's content box for it to appear in the menu. We have rain, snow, and smoke, and turn on and off by clicking on each one once or twice. We can select the backdrop or floor here with these buttons, then shrink or expand them on the studio with the plus or minus. If you place your cursor on one of the walls and with what area you have selected to texture, left-click and hold on the mouse and drag the cursor around. You will drag the texture about to place it better for a photo shot. Here we have a RGB wheel. We can select plain color hues here instead of textures. We can use the plus and minus to define the color slightly, or we can use the S to bring a drop menu, and you fill in your RGB number to change the color definition. We can also adjust the color with the plus and minus. There's also a shader bar. You can click on the change the brightness of the color hue if you wish to do so. Coming over to the light control panel. Here we can do many things with lights, shadows, and shadow texturing. Make sure your preferences are set up to see shadows, sun, and moon projections. We can change the spotlight's projection using the plus and minus buttons for the intensity button, the focus, the radius, and the fall off. Click which one you want to define, then use the plus and minus. We can also use some movement arrow buttons to adjust the spotlight on the studio. Here, the set light option is a clever, unique idea to place the light exactly where you want it. When you click this button, a drop menu appears and select Yes. The camera then sits right in front of your viewer. Using the Alt button and left-click on a mouse and hold, move your view into the avatar or away to the position you want the spotlight to be placed. Then select the Set Light option to firmly place it in position. As you can see, the spotlight is now right in front of the avatar's face. You can hide the spotlight for the photo shoot. You can also reposition it by the same method again for a different angle for the spotlight. You can save these spotlight positions under the camera position button on the control panel. The texture button here, when clicked, will drop a menu down. Here you can select various shadow textures that will appear on the avatar and studio. You can adjust the texture depth with the shadow size and again with the intensity, focus, radius, and drop-off buttons. Also, you can select the light color button to change the color hue of the shadow effect and projection light. We can go back to a normal light by clicking on the normal non-texture button to produce a plain shadow. So, here we have a clever, unique idea we had a while ago now to pose more than one avatar and use any animation in the studio's contents. We were the first to invent this, and this was to do away with pose balls. For a second, third, fourth, or more avatars, select pose and sit on the studio in its default position. You can use the movement buttons to adjust them, and they will begin to pose once you click on the pose scroll button. You can move and adjust your avatar around the other avatars present on the studio. So using any animation per each avatar and the movement controls, you could design your own style with each other for a photo. You could drop in proper, made matching couple animations, but you will need to move and adjust them into position manually. So basically your photo designs are endless and can be creative as much as you want. To change between avatars, use the next and previous avatar buttons. You'll get a text hover to say who is active and who you can move or change poses with. So I'm wearing a neat little HUD for the studio. You may find it easier to use, and it has all the same controls on it as the studio. The smiley face, if you click on it, will hide and show the HUD for when you take your photos. We have some extra storage drives for textures and pose animations you can keep in a different place to the studio. You can add your own full perm textures into the studio's content tab box or into these drives along with the pose animations, and these can be either modify, copy, or transfer. To load up these drives, you will need to edit the studio, and here you can add to the studio's main contents if you wish. To add to the drives, you will need to tick the Edit Link box, then click the drive you want, then drag and drop into the content box. Click on them to activate them and again to turn off.